Is it gonna be bad? It's gonna be recession. It's gonna be totally demolished. And what's gonna be with me, with my work, with my house? How it's gonna affect my life, my real estate, my savings? Watch this video to the end, and you're gonna be ready to fight in this war. Hi, welcome to sunny Toronto. Looks like spring finally here. It's I'm in downtown Toronto, and behind me, those white buildings, it's Fort York National Historical Ground. Those white buildings and brown before the bridge. Uh, this is actually Fort York. It was built in 1792 when John Graves Simcoe, Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, moved capital from Niagara to the uh, newly established city of York. It was the town of York, actually. Anyway, and he built the Fort York as a protector from our, believe it or not, American neighbors. However, uh, during War of 1812, the fort was captured by American troops. The whole town of York was captured, buildings were looted, Parliament was burned down. And we pay our debts, we as a Canadians. Uh, British troops, actually, a big part of which was Upper Canada militia, with the farmers and citizens of Upper Canada, Canadians. Uh, in next year, they captured Washington, burned down government buildings, and White House as well. Actually, because after that, it becomes White House. Because Americans want to sign peace treaty with Upper Canada, and to prepare this signing of agreement, they need a building. The most not damaged building in Washington was White House, and they painted. And the only paint that they have at the time was white paint. So since that, thank you to Canadians, White House has actually become White House. Believe it or not, we again at the war with Americans. Hopefully this time we're not gonna burn our buildings and we're not gonna capture to each other capitals. Anyway, now capital of Canada is Ottawa, Toronto is the capital of Ontario. However, I hope this time we're not gonna loot it, we're not gonna have looted and burned down buildings. As a real author, I totally against this, by the way. And I hope sooner or later we're gonna get agreement as well. But for now, it's sunshine here, but economically and politically, it's very cloudy over the Canada. And every Canadian today asking himself how this trade war gonna affect my life, how it's gonna affect our economy. Is it gonna sustain? Is it gonna be strong, or are we gonna be down? What's gonna be with my job, with my salary, with my savings, with my home? And I have answers for this. And I want to share these answers with you to make sure that you have my opinion, and hopefully you're gonna feel more comfortable, more safe and secure with these opinions, and more prepared. And of course, I'm gonna share it with you. And also, I want to discuss four major factors that are gonna affect our life in Toronto and Canada as well. So I hope by the end of this video, you're gonna be prepared for the war. Hi, welcome to Toronto for Sale and Rent, YouTube channel where we talk about living in Greater Toronto with real estate accent. My name is Oleg Alex Lakritz. I'm realtor with Sutton Group Admiral Realty Brokerage, and I'm working in this beautiful city. If you're planning to move in our city and live in Toronto or its suburbs, or if you're already living here and planning to buy, sell, rent, or rent it out your home, please give me a call, send me a text, email me, or leave a comment under this or any other video on my channel, and we will talk personally. And after this talk, you will be ready to achieve your real estate goals in the most safe, fast, secure, and lucrative for you way. Thank you very much, and continue watch this video. Thank you. Hi guys, I come back to my office and let's continue to talk about this tariff war, how it's gonna change, how it could change our life, and how we could try to fight back and try and how we could try to readjust our life and even to turn it into our benefits. But first, let me sip a coffee. Definitely I need some more energy. Okay, so I did a lot of research since November last year when Trump was elected as a president of United States and started talking about implementing tariffs on Canadian goods. Um, I listened to a lot of experts, read a lot of articles. I even go through the notes for my economical course at university when I was a student. And I determined for myself four major factors that gonna be bring to life by this tariff war. And those four major factors, in my opinion, we must watch them, we must observe them, and to see how they start changing our life. And if we're aware of them, I believe me and you could readjust your life, readjust your business, and at least survive, and which is, in my opinion, pretty possible, uh, turn it into your benefits. Because I honestly believe, and I've been told a few times that in Chinese language, the hieroglyph, the sign for the crisis also means opportunities. So in every crisis, there's always opportunity. So let's take a look on those factors, and I'm gonna tell them right away. So factor number one, it's time. Number two, it's economical problems, I would say, and of course it's going to be different problems, much more small, bigger. It depends what kind of tariffs and all this stuff, all details. But the two, in my opinion, the two most important in economical factor is unemployment and inflation. So we have number one, time, number two, economical factor, number three, political factor, and number four, it's psychological factor. In my opinion, they all connected like a chain, kind of chain reaction. I will explain you why and how you could be ready and how you could prepare to yourself and how you could use these benefits. Let's go through the quick presentation, very quick visual presentation. It's not a rocket science, it's common sense, And I believe by the end of that presentation, you're already gonna know what I'm gonna tell you. But let's take a look on it. And after that, I quickly explain you my concept, how we could survive this tariff war, fight, and get a victory. We have Canada and United States. We have metal plant in Canada that produce metal, and that metal goes across the border directly to the auto part factory in United States. And auto parts produced in the United States goes across the border to the Canadian car assembly plant. And that car assembly plant produce cars for the American consumers and for the Canadian consumers. So, full cooperation, everyone is happy. But unfortunately, we're tariff war situation. So, Canadian metal, as soon as it crossed the border to the United States, slapped with the 25% tariffs. The parts manufactured from Canadian steel, as soon as they crossed the border to Canada, slapped with another 25% tariff. Now it's from Canadian side. And the cars manufactured in Canada, uh, that goes to the Canadian consumers fine because it's in their market, there is no extra tariffs there. But for the American consumers, as soon as those cars cross the border on their way to the American dealerships, they tariffed another 25%. And with time, because they become more and more expensive, American buyers stop looking for the models that bought in Canada because they're more expensive and start buying other cars. So Canadian car manufacturer plant get less and less orders from United States, and eventually they stop ordering. So they still producing cars for the Canada, but because Canada market and the United States markets, it's not even comparable. So that car manufacturer in Canada has to adjust to the new reality. He has to cut his production, and for the part that for the cars that they produced for a Canadian market, they have to raise the price just to keep up with these conditions. So we're gonna pay more even for the products produced in Canada. But what happened to the American market? Let's see. In the States, they still gonna buy more and more cars. So eventually, Canadian car manufacturer probably has to bring his production to the United States and open the same factory in the United States and start producing cars made in America. And the parts that made in America go directly now to the American plant. No tariffs for the inner tariffs for the market in the United States. So those American cars become cheaper, and American consumers start buying the same models, but now produced in the United States again. But what's happening in Canada? In Canada, we have a car manufactured plant, car assembly plant closed. Our workers are out of job, unemployed, but we still need the cars. We still need to move things around. We still to drive to work and drive our cars to the grocery shopping, to bring our kids to their activities. So we still gonna buy cars, but because they're not produced in Canada, we start bringing those cars from United States, the same models that were just recently been manufactured at our home. And again, as soon as they those models cross the border on the way to the Canadian dealerships, they get extra tariffs on them, which brings them more and more expensive to our Canadian consumers. So This is brief example how it's a very simplified example how the tariff works. Okay, so I hope now after this presentation you have picture how it's going to work, have understanding, and probably you understand why I choose those four major factors. Now let's talk about them a little bit more detailed. First, factor, no, it's time. As you just saw, it's gonna take time for those tariffs creates pressure on our economy and to bring to life those economical hardships. Of course, the longer period, the more damage we're gonna sustain. It's pretty obvious. But this factor also, I would say it's not very like negative. I would rather say it's neutral because the more time it's working, the more time we have to adjust, to prepare it, and to be prepared, to readjust, and maybe to find some new opportunities and use it as a victory in this tariff war. And but again, the more it's working, and if there is no political response to these tariffs, which is factor number 3, uh, the more economical hardships gonna be burned to life, and the more our country gonna suffer. So factor number 1, the longer period creates more of economical hardships, and as you remember, factor number 2, it's economical problems, and the measure of them. So now let's talk about economical problems. The measure of them is inflation and unemployment. As you could understand from this example, uh, these tariffs it's gonna cost us because the tariffs from the Canadian side on American goods gonna pay we Canadians. It means that products and goods that we consume that made in America gonna be more expensive, and we have to pay for this. Plus, our Canadian goods gonna be suffered there. Americans gonna pay for Canadian goods, and of course, at some point, we and Americans, we Canadians and the Americans, has to choose, or we still continue consume Canadian or American product, or we buy our local product cheaper, better. So this is what's gonna happen. Eventually, we start buying less American products. They start buying less Canadian products, which means our Canadian factory starts selling less their produced products to the Americans, so they have to bring it to the Canadian market. But because Canadian market is much smaller, they need to raise the price. First, they have to cut the labor force because they don't need to produce so much more of this product. So they're gonna cut some kind of some workers, unfortunately, and stuff. Some business is gonna be closed at all. Some probably gonna survive, but they need to raise the price again. So even Canadian goods probably gonna be more expensive. This is creates inflation, and people, and if the people unemployed then simply don't have money to consume those goods. So it's like uh, it's circling around. So no matter what you're doing, you're in a circle, and it's getting worse, worse, and worse. And of course, now as I understand this factor number 2, if it takes longer time, it's getting worse, worse, worse. But if factor number 3, political factor, and under this political factor, I mean that the political system, the political party that controls the government, all branches, and let's say all branches of government. So, like our prime minister, the cabinet, the parliament, they're working together. Our premiers in provinces and the provincial parliaments working as one team and trying to do necessary steps to stand off these economical hardships, to ease them, to keep the businesses going, to redirect money that collected by these tariffs to those and help those businesses, to help businesses find new markets, maybe outside of Canada, maybe bring products and from other parts of the world to compensate that expensive tariff products from the United States. So all this requires very good political will and political mastership from the government and from the governing party. Unfortunately, guys, I would say that Liberal Party that in charge of Canada right now, since the previous Mr. Trudeau, honestly, for the past 10 years, they did everything to bring our economy very weak and unprepared for this war. And since November, they did nothing, except they start playing their own political games. They start stabbing each other with the knives in the back. Eventually, Mr. Trudeau resign, kind of stay, but resign. They close the parliament. They install new guy, Mr. Carney, and he's kind of like was introduced like a kind of political economical savior of the Canada. Unfortunately, few his interviews with the Canadian media was a disaster in my opinion. So we really have political factor that's not working in our favor. Hopefully, it's going to be election soon. I'm gonna tell this straight to the camera. Personally, I'm gonna vote for Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre because his program, Canada First, this is what we need, in my opinion, to save our Canada from the tariffs and actually save Canada as a state, because the politics and what the Mr. Carney propositions of Mr. Carney and the governing Liberal Party today, it's still the same people that even been fired by Mr. Trudeau because of the total disaster they created. Now they again back in our government. So I hope this election is going to be soon, and it's going to be very important to vote on these elections and very important to make a right choice. I just ask you to check what's the Liberal Party proposing and what's the Pierre Poilievre proposing. His program Canada First, I believe they're working the best. They're gonna work the best for Canada. Uh, at least he telling smart things from the common sense. We're gonna retaliate the tariff by tariff, but first we're gonna put the tariffs by how he's saying. He's gonna put the tariffs on the goods for that we don't need. We produce in Canada, so it's gonna stimulate our Canadian businesses. Second, less tariffs that more tariffs that we could bring from other parts, or it's gonna take some time, but we're gonna have businesses start making those products here in Canada. And the third, that and it's gonna be less tariffs on those that we need for our life, that we're not producing and we couldn't substitute with another products. Plus, it's removing barriers from the interprovincial barriers, so we could start making businesses between provinces, and this is only going to be much the biggest benefit probably to the Canadian economy and to the provincial economies. His idea to build pipelines from coast to coast, so we could sell our natural resources to the whole world, not just to the United States. It's going to bring more money and more work, more jobs to our Canada. And our, by the way, the pipes construction, it's a steel worker. So our steel workers gonna have job, gonna be gonna have secure job for, and this steel gonna be used in Canada for the right price. And what I like the more as a real estate agent, he's promising to remove any hardships to get very fast approval for construction, for buildings, for builders, and it's gonna be build. We're gonna build more and more houses, more affordable houses, and as a real estate, I totally agree. And as Pierre saying that we don't need any tariffs, any products. We have everything here in Canada, and nobody could tell us and nobody could punish us if we start building our country. That's why he's going to get my vote. I ask you to check his program and other party programs, be ready for and vote. Come and vote and do it and look on those parties from common sense. And this political game, this political pitch, and this political situation inflate our the force factor. It's psychological because if the political system working and supporting Canadians give them a hope, if they see that politicians, our government on different levels, our parliaments working and helping Canadians, they're in the same boat with us, we're gonna feel better. You and me gonna feel more energetic and gonna start looking for the uh, how to win this war, how to survive, and how to get it and turn it into our benefits. How we could do it? Very simple. First, I hope this video give you idea and you understand what's gonna be. You understand what the factor is gonna play, and probably you already see how you could change this for good. For good. First, don't panic. Second, vote on election. Choose the right candidate that you believe and vote on that election. Uh, don't listen to war and kind of fear mongering media like CBC, CTV, and others. That last day I listened to TV and one guy, they just told that Americans gonna come physically and invade Canada. Bullshit. But they trying to bring fear. Resist to this fear. Don't believe in this fear. Just look around, listen what really happened. So be skeptical what this fear mongering media gonna talk to you. Because if you resist, if your eyes open, if you're using common sense, you're gonna see what's really happened. Third, of course, if you think that your job gonna be affected by these tariffs, your business gonna be closed, or you're gonna be unemployed, uh, start preparing. Maybe save some money. I know it's very hard to do it right now. Take a look what you could do with your real estate assets. If you have, maybe you could do some kind of second credit offline to use on a just like emergency fund. Maybe you could do refinancing. Maybe you could start looking for the new positions in different fields that's going to be more secure. Um, Ask people. Start looking for the information. Do not believe in the media again because they start pushing kind of fear-mongering narratives. Go to the platforms, YouTube, X, Facebook. Of course, it's going to be a lot of different information noise, but use common sense. Of course, if you work in an industry that, okay, you probably you could look how you could expand if it's your business or maybe extra skills. Maybe you could start produce more different products. Maybe your product could substitute that coming from US. Um, also, in terms of real estate, if it's going to be more construction, it's going to be more positive vibe in economics. People start going to buy. Now, real estate markets are frozen, and they were not in a very good condition. It was not buyer's market. Even in freehold segment of the real estate market, it still was kind of balanced. In a condo market, it was totally buyer's market. So it means if you're a buyer, you could benefit. Now it's frozen because people don't know what to do. So if you're planning to buy, it's probably if you're okay with down payment, if you're okay with mortgage, if you have more or less secure job, why not to use this opportunity for yourself and be among the very few amount of buyers, so you could get very good price and very good deal. So anyway, overall, stay positive. Don't worry. It's not the first war. It's not the last war. Economical war with the United States. It happened, and it's up to you. If you want to be scared, you're gonna be scared. If you want to stand up and fight, you're gonna stand up and fight. And from my experience, it's very hard to stand and fight. But at the end of the day, if you run with the cold feet, you're gonna lose. If you stand and fight, you could win. I hope this video helpful for you. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment, call me, send me a text, or email me. And it's going to be my pleasure to talk to you privately and answer your questions. Thank you very much, and victory to all of us.